Hello and welcome. Today we are gonna do something really cool, really experimental, and something really fun. It's gonna be a way um, to basically do a stylization effect in post process. I know that's something not very refined today. It may be tomorrow, but nowadays people just use AI. And the problem that I found with AI is that it's either not consistent if you're doing a video, or if it is, you just don't have that control in AI which you would want in a professional production environment. I'm sure that that's gonna change in the future, but for now, I have this really cool way to do this purely mathematically, which means it's stable and really gives us a lot of control over the stylization. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna take this shot from the spring short film, and we're gonna try to, while retaining her details and expressions, we're gonna try to have that brush strokey effect and that distortion that which would follow her flow of the mesh, and yeah, really would give us that painterly feel. um, and yeah, so the idea I got from watching Arcane, which is a really good series. um, it was a pretty nice stylization, and I would say that it's a really great effort, because the backgrounds in the world and the characters, they're all really great and really nicely stylized. The only issue that I found was the actual rendering, which you cannot really do anything about. It's just a like set. You know how things would render if you place a light, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to just you know disrupt the lighting and the shadows, and basically everything, while trying to retain all of that, um, of those nice details. Now, I'm only gonna use the beauty pass, and for the sake of this tutorial. But the more passes that you work on, and the more passes you introduce to this same workflow that I'm gonna show you, the more control you're gonna have and the more details you're gonna preserve. So keep that in mind. And without further delay, let's just get started. So some things you will want to consider, if you're using anything like depth of field or chromatic aberration in your project, you may want to hold off on these effects for a while, because we can easily just do that in compositing. And the reason for that is it will all get distorted and just gonna disrupt the look of our stylization in the end. So so these are of course render passes, and we want some render passes to be rendered from here, and it's all again on you, but I personally like to have diffuse and glossy direct and indirect passes, so that I can easily have a control in the compositing section. And I've also enabled ambient occlusion. This is actually necessary for us to preserve the details in our stylization process, which may not make sense right now, but we'll just enable this, and I'll show you how you're gonna use it later. So that's that, and pretty much that's it for the beauty pass. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and render it. We'll have something like this. This is um, just the beauty pass, and we also have depth pass, diffuse direct, indirect. These are kind of noisy, but they're just gonna be uh, added on top of it, so I think it will be fine. Glossy, direct, gloss, indirect, and AO, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. And we are going to just we can just go ahead and save this. So I'm going to save the image. So I'm gonna go ahead and save to my desktop, and I'm gonna stylization test 2, and I'm gonna call this beauty plus. Cool. So that's that. And basically if you're rendering out a video, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna set your output to that folder, and yeah, just similarly save your image sequence or video or whatever you want. Now we want re to really special passes which we will not get using these AOVs, because they require the use of what is called override materials. Now, if you don't know what override materials are, they literally are just materials and nothing else, but they will be applied on everything that is in your scene, and basically temporarily they will replace the materials that are already on each of your object in the scene. So let's just see it in action. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just select any one thing and just gonna add a material, and I'm gonna call this one override matte, and I'm gonna create another one, and I'm gonna call this one override brush. Cool. So in override matte, this is just a really simple um, material. It's just a plain white color, um, and no specular, no subsurface, nothing. And yeah, it's just a plain white material. So we won't see anything yet because we haven't yet applied it to our layer. And the way you do that is you go to the view layer tab, and in under override, in material override, you will just add that. So I'm gonna search for it, material override matte. There it is. So these were volumes, and yeah, and one other thing that you can do is we're gonna disable the lighting here, right? And I'm also gonna go ahead and disable um, the HDRI, or if you have any HDRI, then disable it, or if you don't, just I'm just gonna set it to 0. Yeah, so complete pitch black is what we want. And I'm gonna add a sunlight, right? And I'm gonna kind of try to make a camera flash out of this. And how I'm gonna make that is I'm gonna just align this with our camera, so that it basically just looks like it's coming from the camera itself. So it's really easy to do that. Just go to select the sun and go to its constraints tab, and just copy rotation and give it the camera. Let me just, oops, not the sky, but the camera. Yeah. And when you look from the camera, you will see that it looks like it's basically coming from the camera. I'm gonna do one thing. If you can see prominent shadows, and we actually don't want that. So what we can do is we can just disable this cast shadow here. Yeah, and that will get rid of any unwanted shadows that we have. We actually don't want any shadows. We just want this this curvature. So basically, it's just a way of getting a kind of a curvature map, if that makes sense. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna just use this to tell our stylization how an area or how a surface is curved. So we'll just use this so that it knows that okay, this area here is really just gonna face away from the camera, and that's gonna affect our process of stylization. So that's how it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna go ahead and render this one out. Alright, so we have this curvature pass, um, and it turned out pretty nice. With when I rendered, it actually showed up with the hair and all, and yeah, that's all good. So that's what we want. And the other pass, which we want, is kind of a way of using override materials to have brush strokes on our object, and I'm just gonna show you what I mean. So remember, we made another override material that was called override brush. So uh, let's change our override material to that, and I'm gonna select that. In here, I'm gonna import a map which I created myself in Photoshop, and which is this one. I know it does not look very nice and all, but uh, essentially what this is it, it's a mask of paint strokes, right? I just selected a paint brush in Photoshop and just painted, and it is tileable, by the way, and it should be, because we're gonna tile it on everything that we have in our scene. This is basically the core of your stylization filter, because this is what will define the actual kind of stylization that you're going for. So you can use any kind of strokes map you want. You can use a kind of a oil paint. You can use a kind of a crayon strokes mask, or any kind of acrylic, or anything that you want, and that will basically define how the distortion is going to happen, and that will ultimately create the look that you want. You can also use multiple maps, which you're gonna have to use here, and just gonna mix and match with however technique you want, maybe with a noise mask or access mask, or whatever uh, is it you want to do. I'm just gonna, for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna use this one, and yeah, and this is, I know this is not very good, but again, I just made this really quickly. So I'm just gonna plug it into the emission, and I'm gonna set the strength to 1, and yeah, that's how it looks. I'm gonna disable the sun because we actually don't need any light for this, and I'm gonna make sure that we are using the UV's space, right? And it basically should appear on everything. If it's not appearing on anything such as this one, it means that this mesh probably doesn't have any UVs. So make sure you have your UVs are present on everything, or if you really don't want to UV anything, and there are a lot of objects which are not UV'd in your scene, you can just kind of cheat and use the generated uh, space, texture coordinate space. And just what we want from this step is, you may want to just imagine your character being painted, and how um, is it that you want the strokes to feel on this character, and how the strokes are gonna flow onto this character. So if you use generated, they're gonna appear, and they're gonna be very evenly um, spaced, but they will produce some overlaps and some artifacts kind of things here. And so you're gonna have to be really careful on how you use it. And basically, if you have um, any drone shot, so you're gonna have to deal with this. So better that you use UVs, right? and in this case we are gonna use UVs. And yeah, um, and I'm gonna just go ahead and quickly unwrap this one and come back. Alright, so I went ahead and unwrapped this. For some reason, the UVs are different on the actual hair, but I'm not gonna do anything else at this point. This is not gonna be our area of focus anyway. But yeah, this all of these strokes are, I think, are good enough to go to the next step, and that's where we are actually going to make our stylization filter. Alright, so we are going to do our next step, and we are gonna do the actual compositing. But to recap, let's just see, we have our beauty pass, we have the curvature pass that we rendered with a sunlight, we have our brush stroke pass, and we also have our AO, and we're going to use all of these in a minute. Now, I have this empty scene of Houdini, and we actually have to use Houdini for this because the nodes that are gonna perform this compositing, I could not find it anywhere else other than a Substance Designer, and that's we know that's not compositing software. So uh, to to put it simply, we are gonna use Houdini's Copernicus nodes, which are not available, I think, before the 20.5 version of Houdini. So if you're using an older version, consider upgrading. Now let's just switch to composite view. And if you're not very familiar with Houdini and how it works, it's fine. I'm not either. But when you switch to composite view, it basically acts like a compositing tool. So it's easy enough to grasp. Now, let's actually go ahead and start our compositing. I'm gonna go to the image part of our nodes, and I'm gonna add a cop network here, and I'm gonna go inside this copnet, and I'm gonna have a file node, and here I'm gonna choose the path of our images. It's already there, but if it's not, just type or just navigate to our wherever your passes are. I'm gonna choose my beauty first, and that's there. I'm gonna duplicate this node, and to do that, just hold Alt and click on a selected node and drag it. Right. I'm gonna choose other passes, and I'm gonna one by one import all of them. Cool. So we have all of our passes imported, and we are ready to go. Now, the actual node that does the stylization for us is gonna be um, the distort node. So I'm gonna type distort, and it's gonna show me 3 nodes. So basically it is the first one, but I'm gonna choose the second one because it also gives us another node which we are gonna use. So it basically will give us these 2 nodes, distort and slope directional. So I'm just gonna put this into the source, and let's view this. None of the other sockets are connected, so I'm just gonna use our slope direction for this, for our brush strokes pass. And to do this, we cannot just directly attach it here because this one asks for a gray map. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a mono node here, which gives us the black and white mask for this. Right. Cool. And I'm gonna put it into this one. Right. And there goes all of our errors. And if you go ahead, you can already see that it's doing something for us. Yeah, you can see the slope direction is actually working because the flow of the strokes is according to what um, this mask was, right? So mm, so you can see these strokes coming in this direction, and you can see the strokes coming in this direction here, and that's basically what we wanted for this. But we also wanted some restraint. We don't want it to basically paint outside the lines, and it's just disrupting everything. We even don't um, we are not getting the expression at all from the character. So now we're gonna add some restraints to this, and we're gonna use this scale input to do that. So if I just go ahead and add a mono and use our curvature pass and drop this into here, right? You can see it did something. All right, it cleaned up a bit, but not too much, right? Because if you see here, it still has some gray value. It's not completely black. So while it is telling the stylization to slow down here, it's not telling it to stop. So we're gonna have to grade this. So we're gonna use a remap for this. Let's just do it. I'm gonna view this, and I'm gonna make it so that it's actually black at the contours. And let's see how it works. So once you start doing this, it's actually gonna slow down our stylization, and we can use this to control it, basically, right? Right. Now I think I'm happy with these kind of strokes here. These are generating. um, I'm happy that it looks like actual brush strokes now, instead of you know instead of the that PBR look on it, right? uh, but having said that, you can see that the details are still getting lost here, and that's where our ambient occlusion comes in, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just make some space here, and I'm going to multiply it with our ambient occlusion. But before that, I'm gonna convert it into a mono, and also I'm gonna get a remap node so that we have more control over AO. And yeah, and what you can do is you can also blur it so that in areas where there are more details, the stylization effect is overall reduced. So now at this point, it all comes down to the to tweaking and setting those values, right? And also here you can just turn on streak so that you don't have those artifacts which you were having, right? It's a better result for you. And if you increase the streaks, it's gonna be exaggerating that effect. Now as you can see, these actually now look like they are painted, right? The strokes are according to the flow of the characters, and it's actually having that strokey feel to the gradients of light, which is actually what we want when we are doing stylization. Again, um, this is a very experimental workflow, right? It's something that I just recently discovered you can just tweak these values. If you can add more control over um, over the effect of stylization using different kind of masks and different kind of render passes, I'm sure you will be having a very good stylization for you. So it all comes down to how you use it and in what manner you use it. So, and we are done. um, that's really it, guys. There's not really much nodes to add here for this demonstration. Of course, you can use more passes and more um, techniques to refine this look, but the the technique is really revolving around this node and the kind of a scale mask that you create at the end. So yeah, that's it. It's really a nice painterly effect to have on your stylized content, because as you can see, it occasionally paints outside the lines as well, which may be something that you want. And if that's not, just uh, tweak these settings, because the beauty of this the setup is that you can have as much control on your stylization as you want. You can have all sorts of different types of stylization using this very effect. And it while it is not perfect, it may be getting in the way of some things, or it may destroy some details for you. But at the end, it all depends on um, you and the viewer that's gonna be looking at that. And I think from this distance, the amount of stylization that's happening on this, it's really nice. So yeah, that's that, guys. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, and I hope that you guys make something really cool out of it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.